Okay, I had to do it. I'm going to put Fox News's point of view on one of my videos, and this is probably one of the most racist assholes on mainstream media today, Sean Hannity. He's going to do a 32-minute phone interview with Donald Trump on the shutting down of Donald Trump's rally in Chicago. This guy kills me. I'm still waiting for him to bail Cliven Bundy and his two boys out of jail. But he's constantly talking about rights. But in my opinion, this guy really is one of the leaders undercover of white supremacists in the country. But anyway, let's get to the matter in hand.
Welcome to Hannity. This is a Fox News alert. 2016 GOP frontrunner Donald Trump canceled a campaign rally in Chicago earlier tonight amid security concerns. Now, this after violent agitators hijacked what was to be a peaceful campaign rally. Joining us now on the phone with the very latest is Donald Trump himself. Mr. Trump, thank you for being with us. I know this is probably a tough night for you. Walk us through from your end what you heard and how you made this decision.
Well, I came to Chicago a few hours ago, Sean, and we have a tremendous group of people and real supporters, amazing people. We had 25,000. We had more than 25,000, and it was going to be an incredible event. And we started to notice that all of a sudden, almost simultaneously, almost like, at a certain time, a lot of protesters showed up. And I guess it was a very staged thing with this Move On organization, which is not a good group of people from what everybody tells me. But so we had a lot of protesters come in, and they seemed to be very disruptive, and they were going into the arena, which was starting to fill up with the people that were coming. And we met with the security, we met with law enforcement, who did, I think, a terrific job. And they really told me it would be best not to go in and do the speech, because if I made the speech, it probably had mixed into the, this very large arena that seats, I guess, about 10 or 12,000 people. We would have had about 15,000 people outside, who may have clashed with the people that were standing outside or at the protesters. They said it would be good not to be doing the speech because you would have had clashes, and people could have been hurt or worse. And I think, and we've been given credit for this, hopefully we did the right thing, but I think that, frankly, canceling turned out to be a very good decision, because we'll do it another time, probably another place, but we'll do it another time. But we had this tremendous group of supporters come in, and it was so sad to tell them, and they were very sad that they weren't able to see what we were going to do. We're going to have a great rally. And I will say they're stopping our First Amendment rights. I have the right to speak, and I have the right to hear and listen.
Oh, Jesus. Nobody stopped him from exercising his First Amendment right. All he had to do was show his ass up and at least make the attempt to speak. Now, if the protesters protested, that's their business. But he didn't even attempt to exercise his First Amendment right, according to him, based on advice from law enforcement. So now here we go. And this is going to be basically a 30-minute rant about the progressives, liberals, or people on the left basically doing him wrong.
And we were unable to do that for security reasons. I said, and it was my decision. I said, look, I don't want anybody to be hurt. We want this to be a non-violent situation. And I will tell you, the people that I had, the supporters were very angry. They're angry to start off with what's happening to the country, with the jobs going to other countries, with the horrible situation that we have at the border. I mean, everything we have, nothing works anymore. Nothing in our country works anymore.
Okay, I don't think that's what the protesters were angry about. I think what the protesters were angry about was Donald Trump's racist rhetoric, calling Mexicans rapists, criminals, etc., denigrating Muslims, and also being racist towards black people by retweeting various white supremacist literature, okay, and then claiming that he didn't support it. But in my opinion, if you retweet something, you support that thing. And then also his lukewarm disavowal of the Ku Klux Klan and David Duke, along with other any and all white supremacist groups. So, again, this guy is a master marketer. You got to give him credit. He is a master marketer, and he knows how to spin. But as far as having substance, that's just not him.
And they're angry people, and you know what? They're not really angry about just about anything else. They're very secure in themselves, but they're very angry about what's happening with our country. And so on top of everything else, they don't even have the right to go into a pavilion and have a 1 hour rally. They're stopped by what took place today, which is really a very organized group of people that does this pretty consistently to different groups of people.
Mr. Trump, we have statements that actually prove this fact, and we've been watching our own coverage here on Fox, and some people with Bernie Sanders, MoveOn.org put out a statement that Mr. Trump, Republican leaders who support him, his hate-filled rhetoric, should be put on notice after tonight's events. They actually said that these protests are a direct result of violence that occurs at Trump rallies. Well, I don't see any violence at Trump rallies. And I've been
Oh my God! There's been videos of people being manhandled, and I guess he must have missed that video on Rakeem Jones, where the guy sucker punched him, and then the police threw him to the ground. So this Hannity, I mean, he's just straight out lying when he says he hasn't seen any violence. I mean, there's all kinds of videos on protesters being manhandled at Trump rallies, to the point of being even spit upon, and physically accosted. So Hannity's just a liar. He's just a liar.
And flipping the dial tonight, and somehow people have been trying to flip this on you, some of your competitors, and frankly, some pretty ignorant so-called journalists have been trying to do the same thing, as if you stating your political opinions is responsible for this. And I want to give you a chance to respond to that. We have seen a lot of this before you even got in this race, in Ferguson, in Baltimore, the murder rate in the city.
And now here comes Hannity with his bullshit. With Ferguson, which is a racist town. It's been proven that people's rights were basically being taken from them. They were being targeted and taxed by the police, over-policing as far as tickets, whereas the white community in Ferguson basically was able to walk around untouched. Okay, so, Hannity loves bringing up black-on-black crime. He never mentions white-on-white crime. He never mentions all of the lawsuits against various police departments that have been found to be racist and are operating under consent orders. So anyway, let me pick this up and let him finish his bullshit rant that doesn't really hold water.
Of Chicago was a national disgrace. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I've had many rallies, and we have massive rallies, by far the biggest, much, much bigger than Bernie by, a factor of many times. I mean,
that's bullshit. Bernie Sanders has had rallies equal to Trump's rallies when organized, and even exceeding Trump. So everything that Trump does has got to be bigger and better than everybody else. And he's sitting up here lying his ass off. I hate it when he says, his rallies are bigger than better. It's just like when he talks about his package, it's got to be bigger and better than everybody else's. He's full of shit.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, we had 35,000 in Alabama. We have 25,000.
Bullshit, it was 25,000.
And we don't have problems. We have some protesters. Every once in a while, somebody will stand up. Today, we had a little more than normal in St. Louis. In the morning, we had...
it was reported that the protesters almost shut down a rally that he had in St. Louis. And St. Louis is a hotbed for his type of crowd as far as being right-leaning, shall we say.
Number of people standing up, and it was fine. Nobody got hurt, but, they had to get taken out. And they're disruptive, and we do the best we can to do a little creative, have a little bit of fun with them. They're out there protesting. I don't know if they're having fun doing it, frankly, but we're very conscious of it, and we're very conscious of the fact we don't want anybody to be hurt.
Now, he was getting ready to say that we have a little bit of a creative way of dealing with them, i.e., hassling them, spitting on them, manhandling them, etc. But he caught himself and changed his sentence in midstream.
So today we had a little bit more than normal in St. Louis, but it was really a great rally. Tremendous turnout, and I mean thousands of people out on the street that couldn't get into a very, very large auditorium. And then I came to Chicago, and we're going to have so many people, at least 25,000. Many people would have to be outside, and we were able to cancel a lot of the people that were coming that hadn't been there yet.
Now, I'm just wondering myself how he was able to cancel this thing where a bunch of the people didn't come. Now, again, I guess there are ways you could, if the police were making announcements on all media formats, letting people know that the rally was canceled, but they would have had to have known that well in advance to stop a tremendous, according to him, a tremendous number of supporters from showing up. So they must have known that this was going down. It had to be at least 3 hours or more before the event was scheduled to start.
There yet, because I got here a little bit early. I'm in Chicago right now, and I was able to, figure it out. And again, we're getting a lot of credit for canceling, because had I gone there, it would have been in many respects easier to just go there. But I think had I gone there, you would have had a lot of problems, because this was a very organized group, and I think not a good group, that really stifled the First Amendment rights. And
again, they didn't stifle your First Amendment rights. You yourself said it would have been easier to go there. You could have gotten up there and at least attempted to exercise your First Amendment rights. Now, if something went down, something went down. But in my opinion, there would have been a lot of people jumping up and screaming blue murder, and possibly you might not have been able to speak. But in this particular case, I guess you acted like a little boy and let some protesters take an entire arena away from you, and you're the one that claimed that you would do something, especially when Bernie Sanders let two women take a mic away from him. Well, which is bigger, a microphone or an entire arena and a rally? I guess you're the little boy that you were talking about.
I think if we ever did that to them, it would be a national disgrace, a national story, and the likes of which you've never seen. But when they do it to us, it's a very big deal. So
who's the they?
These incredible people that unfortunately were shut out from hearing what they wanted to hear.
This is not
racist rhetoric
to Trump that supposedly was supposed to have free speech on college campuses. This happens only to conservative speakers on a fairly regular basis here.
Now, on that one, I can't let that one go. Sean is right. A lot of the conservatives are not allowed to speak on these college campuses. That piece I don't agree with. If a conservative speaker comes out there and he wants to speak and you don't want to hear him, don't go. That's really simple. Other people who might want to hear him, especially on a college campus, because that's where a lot of us formulate our opinions. And if you don't really listen to the other side, then you're basically formulating your opinion with only half information. So I don't agree with that portion as far as conservative speakers not being allowed to speak.
You see the violence in the city of Chicago. It seems like there are no solutions to the violence. I mean, we've had weekends with 12, 13, 14 people are shot, including young children. It is a city that seems really out of control, almost like New York before Rudy Giuliani took over.
Oh my God, Rudy Giuliani is a fucking racist, and everybody knows it. And Rudy Giuliani was responsible for a lot of the first responders being killed in the World Trade Center because he gave a contract for the radio communications for the first responders that didn't work. And nobody to this day has done an investigation. And they knew it didn't work because the previous time when they had attacked the World Trade Center trying to plant bombs in the parking garages underneath the World Trade Center, they had attempted to use the same communication system, and they found out that it didn't work. Thank God that one failed. But then this guy was supposed to come back and fix the problems, and he didn't. So, and he's in cahoots with Rudy Giuliani. So why wasn't that guy ever investigated? Why? Because Giuliani put the kibosh on it.
Yeah. Well, it's a problem. There's no question about it. And it's a great city. I love Chicago. I have big investments in Chicago, and I think it's a great city. But it certainly has certain sections where it's got problems like probably almost no other place in this country. But Chicago is Chicago, and it's, you know, an amazing place. And I do like Chicago. It's a city that I think is highly underrated, actually. But, and you know, they hear about some of the statistics, and that's a shame. That's a horrible shame. And it's too bad they aren't able to do something about it. But this was, I think, very unrelated to that. This was an organized group. They knew that we were going to have thousands of people coming. And these are people that just wanted to listen. You know, the theme is Make America Great Again. And they wanted to listen about making America great again, how we're going to do it. We're going to bring back our jobs. We're going to bring back so many different things to the country that we haven't had. We're going to strengthen our borders. We're going to build a wall. We're going to do so many things, and, you know, things that are positive for the country, not negative for the country. But
you know, yeah, I honestly, I'm telling you, I get tired of hearing the bullshit, and he never tells you how. As far as him building that wall, you know, he claimed that building that wall is going to cost about $8 billion. Others have claimed that the cost of building that wall is going to be closer to $25 billion because of the treaties that we currently have with Mexico, which won't allow us to build the wall exactly on the border. So we would have to use eminent domain and pay the going price to people that, private citizens that actually own the land adjacent to the border, and that would drive the cost up greatly. And then as far as Mexico paying for that wall, he's full of shit. He's full of shit. There's no way that Mexico is going to pay for that wall, and everybody with half a brain knows it.
all about making America great again, and maybe they just don't want to have that happen. I don't know. But I think, I will say this, Sean, I think we did the right thing. If we would have gone further, I think you could have seen, you know, they've had some pretty bad situations dating back all the way to 1968. The Democrat convention was, you know, a disaster. People killed and lots of things happening. And tonight, virtually nobody is even hurt. And we made a very good decision. We've been given credit for making a very good decision, and we worked very, very closely with law enforcement, and they gave us some really good advice.
Let me talk about a double standard, because I watched and I listened tonight, and people said, well, they quoted you from saying, I assumed it was joking, you know, well, in the old days, you know, we wouldn't take that sort of thing. But they never seem to pay attention to some of the rhetoric of the...
Yeah, in the old days. Yeah, who brought up in the old days? Donald Trump. You know, in the old days, they would have basically beat the crap out of any protesters in the old days. Anyway. Here's Sean with his bullshit double standards. And again, it's basically they're going to bring up things but that they always want to blame Democrats for, but they never mention Republican solutions.
The president has said Republicans want dirty air and dirty water. He talked about the police.
And the reason that he says that is because the Republicans want to get rid of the EPA, and the EPA is responsible for making sure that we have clean air and clean water. Your greatest example of not having an EPA is the failure of the EPA to act in Flint, Michigan. Okay, they knew what was going on and they failed. If they had done what they were supposed to do, that situation would have gotten nowhere near as dire as it is now. So that's an example of clean water. The clean air situation is as in California, where they forced the oil and gas company that had that giant gas leak, natural gas leak, It took them 4 months to close it, but without an EPA, that thing probably would still be going